Facing the mortgage crisis, the next steps. On location at the Cox Ohio Media Center in downtown Dayton.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Riley, editor of the Dayton Daily News. I'd like to welcome you here and also welcome our broadcast audience. This program is a partnership between the Dayton Daily News, Think TV, and WYSO Public Radio. It's made possible in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and with the assistance of the Ohio Channel. We have a demanding task tonight that revolves around two questions that are of great concern to the Dayton region. Those questions involve foreclosure, mortgage problems, and struggling neighborhoods. The questions are, what can be done to help individuals, and what can be done to help neighborhoods? We hope to find some answers tonight and to identify steps that we can take, you, me, our leaders, all of us, as we try to ease the economic problems in our community. These problems can be seen in abandoned houses, neighborhoods in decline, and a public perception that harms our community's reputation. Let's introduce our guest panel. Dan Foley is president of the Montgomery County Commission. He's been a commissioner since January 2007. Before that, he was the county's clerk of courts. Alfred Patterson is a lifelong resident of Montgomery County and a community outreach specialist for County Corp and its local Home Saver program. Bill Faith is the executive director of the Coalition for Homelessness and Housing in Ohio. I'd also like to introduce our media representatives. Both of them have reported extensively on the foreclosure crisis. Emily McCord from WYSO and Ken McCall of the Dayton Daily News. Here's our format tonight. I'll ask our panelists a question. Each will give a 2-minute answer. We'll then hear from citizens about their personal situations, and our reporters will ask questions of our panel. We're aiming for an informative discussion. We'll have time for questions from our audience here. Now the first question for our panel. What is your organization doing to help individuals and neighborhoods affected by the mortgage crisis? First, Mr. Foley.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm very pleased to be here to talk about this subject. What we're doing, I think, is really a reflection of the problem, and that is that it's multi-tiered. At the local level, we have worked with partners to start a 211 initiative with United Way, where we're trying to get individuals to reach out early when they're in trouble financially with their mortgage. We're also supportive of regulation at the state level. I know Bill Faith, who covers state legislative issues of mortgage issues, is going to talk about this a lot. But we've been supportive of legislation at the state level that will essentially put more regulation on the mortgage industry and also more protection for homeowners. And I hope tonight that we get to talk a lot about the fact that at the national level, at the federal level, there's so much work to be done around this issue. And I tell you that as a county commissioner, as an elected official, as a citizen who has seen this issue pretty close, the solutions with this problem lie, I think, most with the federal level and the entire federal system about how we have around mortgages and our financial lack of regulation around this issue.
Thank you, Dan Foley, Montgomery County Commissioner. Next, Mr. Patterson.
Good evening. Good to be here. Thank you. And I'd like to say good evening to everyone here. County Corp's Home Saver program actually has two issues that we try to address. One is prevention, the other is intervention. On the prevention side, our organization's agenda is to get to folks before there's a problem, and we do that by trying to identify those homeowners that have high-risk mortgages. We want to make them aware of their options, make sure they understand the risk that's associated with their current mortgage, and then help them decide what's the best way to address it. On the intervention side, we want to address those folks who have already found it difficult to meet their mortgage payments, or in some cases are actually facing foreclosure. These folks need options. They need help. They need to know how the system works for them as opposed to against them. They also need to know what resources are available in Montgomery County. We want to make sure that those resources are available to them, and we help navigate through the process, because it can be intimidating, it can be overwhelming. So we try to bring all of the county's resources to the problem on a grassroots level, actually help the homeowners directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson, and he is with is a community outreach specialist for the local Home Saver program. Next, Bill Faith, who is executive director of the Coalition on Homelessness and Housing in Ohio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. My organization has worked on this issue for many years. As people may be aware, the foreclosure crisis is nothing new to the state of Ohio. In fact, in each of the last 14 years, we've had a new record level of foreclosures. And it's really due, in part, I think Commissioner Foley said it well, it's been a neglect at the policy level. The federal regulators did not stop the lenders who issued reckless, unaffordable loans to many of our citizens. Subprime lending was rampant in our state, and it ruined the credit and the financial underpinnings of many of our citizens. These things could have been prevented and reined in and much more strictly regulated. But our federal regulators and our state did too little too late to address this issue. So what we try to do is to advocate for change at those levels, particularly at the state level, but also at the national level, so that we have better regulation and more protections for our homeowners.
Thank you. And that was Bill Faith of Ohio's Coalition on Homelessness and Housing.